Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of That Millwall podcast. After my Sunday night training as host, I am taking the hot seat in the host seat today, but I'm joined by two other people who have hosted the show before in Mr. Stephen Jones. Good evening.
Good evening, chaps. Not sure how this is going to go, but we've got one half of the dynamic duo with us as well today. So I'll let you carry on, Dan.
We do, and also we have Mr. Omer joining us. Good evening, mate.
Good evening, Dan. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm living the dream. I used to watch this so keen to do a show, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to join and brave the conditions because I think I'm going to get a few pelters. So
Well,
yeah,
mate,
let's
the
see how this
viewers are
goes.
always asking where you are, so and we aim to please here at That Mill podcast. So hope everyone's happy, and yeah, hopefully these two can help me steer through the show tonight. So we're going to kick things off by going to Omer for his thoughts on Sunday. Me and Stephen were both on Sunday night live, the call-in show. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, and you'll hear mine and Stephen's thoughts on the game. So Omer, what did you think of Saturday's 1-1 draw at home against Sunderland?
Do you know? I think we done the show on Friday, and I think before the game, if you'd said to me a 1-1 draw, I definitely would have took it with both hands. To be honest, we've been on a poor run of form after the last week we had, obviously going into the game on Saturday, and I felt like it kind of went as expected. Sunderland have some good players in their sides. I thought, we done well to get in at 1-0 ahead just before the half-time break. And I think the underlying tone for me was it was quite, it's a shame really to get to, as far as we did, 78th minute, and then we've given the penalty away. And then upsets Jack Clark to get his 10th goal of the season, I think it was, wasn't it? And yeah, I mean, it's the Den, isn't it? Mill don't win at the Den nowadays, and it's a tough one to take. But I think, if like I said, if you offered me the draw before the game, mate, I would have took it.
Well, you say Mill don't win at the Den. Clearly, only getting a draw at the Den gets you a sack these days because Tony Mowbray, since that game, has been sacked. And obviously, this is That Mill podcast, but quickly, your thoughts on that one, gents?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock one to be honest with me. I think I felt like clearly he's a good manager, and I think we was quite praiseful of him on Friday, weren't we, Stephen? When we done the show, like I felt he's always set his teams up well against us. Sunderland, under him have been on an upward trajectory over time, and it's a shame really he's lost his job. But the Mill curse obviously is still a thing when you come to the Den.
And Stephen, your thoughts on that as well?
I think last season there was talk that he was close to leaving them, even though they were doing quite well. There was a spell where there was rumours that he was going to go. So it's almost as if there's a little bit of a trigger finger waiting to happen at some point. I think it's a little bit harsh. They've got some injury problems. They didn't really have a striker, did they? So um, he's doing the best he can, but that's the championship. There's so many managers now that have already gone already, and perhaps other clubs are looking around thinking, oh, if X, Y, Z are changing their manager, maybe we need to. And he's a good manager. He no doubt he'll pop up in another job somewhere else. But strange because it's just one of those, isn't it? That it wasn't a defeat, so it must have been on the cards before the game, regardless of what result they achieved on Saturday.
Do you think Gary Rowett might be rubbing his hands now that the Sunderland jobs came about all of a sudden? I don't think that's going to be a name that particularly interests the Sunderland board, but he'll probably stick his hat in the ring for it.
He probably will walk into a job like that, to be honest. And if he, the thing is, it's like obviously he was linked with Rotherham job, wasn't he? And I was like, I just couldn't get the links with that. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see where he turns up. He's already doing his punditry, and he obviously waited a time out after his 4-year spell of us. But it feels like he's quite keen to get his name out there again, and be interesting. I don't know who the early favourite is in that job already because I'm not really paying attention to it online today. But it'd be interesting to see who lands up there. But it could be a sort of job he can walk into. I could see it feasibly happening, Dan.
Yeah, I don't think right now that's probably a job that or a role that Sunderland will kind of be looking at him for. I think they'll probably go kind of down a similar route to the way we've gone in terms of a young upcoming head coach. Just because I think as well, you look at the kind of recruitment and style of players that they have, they want to kind of play that way and recruit that way. Maybe a younger manager might be a better fit for them, but I don't think it will be too much longer before we see Gary Rowett back in his job. So we're going to move this on a little bit now. We're going to talk about a certain player because his name kept coming up on our show on Sunday night, and that player is our Dutchman Zian Fleming. Now, he was hooked after 70 minutes on Saturday, which was an interesting move. And one that I said I don't think you'd usually see happen under Gary Rowett, no matter how bad a game Fleming was having. And he didn't have a very good game on Saturday, and he'll probably be the first one, I think, to put his hands up and admit he didn't have a very good game. So, gentlemen, what's your thoughts on Zian Fleming? Maybe, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel on this. Could maybe a spell out of the team be beneficial for him?
Was he even playing Saturday? I didn't see him play Saturday. I must have watched a different game. I don't know.
For the benefit of the benefit of the viewers on for this show, if you hadn't watched our live show last Friday, Omar and I had varying opinions, should we say, on Zian. And I'll be honest with you, I will start off and say I thought his effort and work rate was better than what we'd seen against perhaps Ipswich. In the first half, there was a lot more pressing, a lot more movement from him, like trying to get involved in the game. But every time he sort of got on the ball and tried to actually influence the game, with in control of the ball, it just didn't seem to happen. And that chance in the second half where the ball comes across and you'd have banked on him to just shoot. He always looks to shoot, and he took a touch, took another touch, and then the chance was lost. To answer your question, Dan, and I'll move on to Omar shortly for his opinion, but I think a spell out of the side could be on the cards, or at least someone getting an opportunity in that number 10 role, because as you say, he's come off in the last 3 or 4 games that we've not been winning. I think he come off when we were ahead on Saturday, but still, it's someone that you would usually be on the pitch. So I certainly think Edwards is possibly thinking, much like Bradshaw as well, if players are not going to, hit the numbers that we need and contribute to goals, there's other players waiting to take their space.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's our top goal scorer in the last 10 games. 3 goals in the last 10 games. I just think, I'm trying to clutch at straws here. I can't defend him. He was poor on Saturday. I felt for him a little bit. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Stephen, a bit, because it just looks really kind of zapped of confidence a bit. And, he got hooked after 70 against Ipswich, got the nod again on Saturday, which hopefully would have been enough confidence boost for him to play and have a good performance. But, yeah, I mean, there's another game where we didn't have much of the ball, it felt like. Is that a kind of game where it suits Fleming? Well, yeah, he still could. He still could make a bit of an impact in the game. And that chance, second half, I normally would back him to convert it, to be honest, especially on last season's form. But, yeah, I mean, obviously with the loss of the norm, maybe, Joe Edwards kind of was forced into playing Fleming because you want that kind of contribution from someone that hopefully could be a match winner, because no Denor in midfield. And I felt that was a bit of a miss on Saturday as well. I'm sure I did listen to the show on Sunday and that was touched on. So, yeah, I mean, I feel for Joe Edwards a bit because he's not getting struck a good hand at the minute from some of these players, it feels like.
No, I do agree with you there, Omar. But obviously, we've mentioned about him possibly having maybe he doesn't start at the weekend. I feel, for me, the natural replacement there would be Romain Esse. I mean, we've all spoke about him at some point in his career playing more as a number 10, and we saw it a little bit in pre-season. He must be chomping at the bit to get going. Hasn't really had too many minutes thus far under Edwards. How do you think he's feeling sitting on the bench, and then also seeing Watmore go in front of him? Does maybe Edwards see Watmore as someone who might be able to play in that position maybe a little bit more naturally than him?
I think Watmore offers quite a bit going forward, and more energy in a sense, and a bit more of a presence, I suppose. He made a good impact, I thought, at times in the second half on Saturday. He has a bit of burst of pace up front and kind of makes something feel like it's going to happen, which then gets the fans involved, I think, a little bit as well. And I felt like I saw that on Saturday a few times as well. They're different types of players, but I think Esse is equally that kind of player potentially, but just a bit less more direct with that, I suppose.
Maybe that's just him learning his trade and getting used to the physicality of the men's game. Obviously, he's had minutes here and there, but hasn't really ever had a consistent spell in this team or any other team, for that matter.
He's a bit more of a flair player, isn't he, Esse, I'd say. And Watmore's going to ball at his feet and try and do something with it, I feel like. So,
yeah,
different types of players there, I suppose. But I can understand why Edwards might be against Esse, but at this point, what's he got to do to get his opportunity, I suppose?
Stephen, your thoughts on that?
I'm going to touch on that final comment from Omar. That's the big thing. What more does he have to do to get an opportunity in a side? See what I did there. But in a team that's not particularly performing that great and creating that that many chances. Okay, the Coventry game we did create a few. We just perhaps a little bit unlucky on the day to lose 3-0, but to not get any minutes in any of the games, the last two is it's a bit baffling. I think we'll come on to Cardiff later. I think there's an opportunity for SA to perhaps play in the centre of midfield because of the lack of numbers, because he's also played there in pre-season. I just think that there's a lot of pressure on Joe Edwards in a number of reasons: results, youth players, the atmosphere, changing the home form, and he's, as you said earlier, I think, Omar, he's not getting the luck of the draw. I know Sheffield Wednesday, you'll say 4-0, great result, but when he's really needed it against teams in games, I think Honeyman hit the post in the Coventry game, could have been 1-0 up. Longman's deflected effort hits the post. Bradshaw puts the rebound in. It doesn't count. It's offside, which it was. But we're not getting the rub of the green, and he's not getting the best out of his players. So it's a combination of things. But certainly, I think SA must be knocking on the manager's door to say, look, if your number 10's not doing
what do I have to do?
Chance?
Yeah. What do I have to do in training and stuff?
Great.
I mean,
also, sorry, just before we move on, Fleming, one thing that really drives me mad, and it's not his fault, is that Rowett did it and Edwards seems to do it, put him out on the left. He just, for spells, he's put out, he's not got the pace. We've seen it so many times. He's not a quick player. I do think that if you're looking for something from your star man, you've got to keep him in his main position all the time. I do feel sorry for him sometimes because he is sacrificed to be shoved out on the left-hand side.
I don't think Fleming's slow by any case. I think for someone his size, I think he is actually quite quick, but he's not quick enough to be a winger. And I think, mentally, I think he's probably one of the fastest thinking players on the pitch. So you can see the way the game's going to unfold. But yeah, maybe just not in terms of actual speed, the way he runs. Not saying he's slow in any way. But also, I think on Watmore, from what I've seen on Watmore, I think I prefer him on the wing or even up front in a 2. I think when he's up front in a 2 with someone, I think that's where we've kind of seen the best of him. And as well, when he's on the wing, if you can give him the license to kind of run down the wing and just run at players, that's when he seems to be at his best, when he seems to be able to get the ball and drive at teams. I think maybe him on the left wing maybe could be an option. We'll discuss Brooke Norton-Cuffy very shortly. Who's been playing on the right, who played on the right against Sunderland anyway. But maybe Watmore coming in on the wing for Honeyman possibly would at least give us a bit more attacking threat down that side, even if it does sacrifice possibly some defensive stability.
I think you'll lose that stability defensively, potentially, but I think you will benefit still from the same output of work rate, because they do feel quite alike in that sense. I feel like, Honeyman does give that kind of industrial performance. And I think Watmore is like that. He doesn't you don't often catch Watmore shirking it, I'd say. He seems to be a kind of player that you're going to get 65 minutes out of him, but there are 65 minutes where he's at full intensity, and that's when he tends to tailor off a little bit. And I don't think you'll lose that output in a sense. But yeah, I mean, definitely more of an attacking output. I mean, going to Cardiff, we won 1-0 last year, and it was a great away day, and Bradshaw got a lucky goal, didn't it, towards the end of the game. And you need them luck. That's what I mean. I think in that run last year where we started to kind of pick up results, there was 1-0 wins away from home, Stoke away, Cardiff away. We're not really getting that rub of the green, really, it feels like. And I do feel a bit sorry for Joe Edwards, like I said earlier, really. So maybe the luck's going to turn on Saturday, but we've just got to keep plucking away at it. I think Nisbet getting another goal was another positive. And you mentioned Norton-Cuffy, who, I thought personally, I wasn't convinced. Maybe if the guys were saying playing right wing, and he was remarkably good on Saturday and deservedly voted man of the match at the time. Although Ryan Edwards got the fans man of the match afterwards, which is one talking point I suppose you can come on to if you want.
We'll come on to that in a minute. Go on, Stephen.
On Duncan Watmore, it is a question for you. I think away from home, I'd rather Watmore start, and at home, I'd rather him coming off the bench. Because I feel like at the Den, sometimes when it does go a little bit flat or you're struggling in a game, he's the sort of player to get the fans off their seat. It as Omar said earlier, it almost feels like he's going to make something happen. Even if it doesn't quite work out, you feel it's going to happen. And I think that's something we need in the second half of games to bring the crowd into it. But away from home, I think to start him, because you need someone that can carry you up the pitch, that can relieve some pressure. And I certainly think him he's probably one of the better players that can do that, that can run with the ball and perhaps get you from your edge of your box to sort of 20 yards inside the opponent's half, win a free kick, win a throw in, stuff like that. So I think there's a different role for him home and away.
I don't disagree with that. I was just going to say one more question before we're going to talk on Norton-Cuffy in a second, but one more question, because I personally think Watmore, maybe as a striker, I don't think on his own, but in a two would be the way forward possibly for him. Would you maybe say, if you was going to play him up front in a two, if you had to pick two strikers to play up front, would it be Bradshaw and Nisbet? Would it be Bradshaw and Watmore? Would it be Nisbet and Watmore? Or would it be someone else for you guys? Maybe would Amaku maybe get a look in if you was picking the team?
I think we said this on Friday. I was putting Nisbet and Fleming. I mean, and it felt like at times Fleming was the sacrificial lamb. It felt like on Saturday, but it did feel like they were, was missing that kind of two man up front, the kind of output occasionally on Saturday, where go a bit more direct, put the opposition centre half under pressure. Because it felt like at times, albeit we had a couple chances as the game went on, Ballard at the back. I don't really remember seeing him kind of shirk under the pressure a bit, and we didn't really put him under pressure either. It felt like at times, these are centre halves that Ballard's case used to play for us. Why don't we kind of target them, put them under pressure? If Steve Morrison was in that side and Gregory's in that side, there's going to be challenges on them. It's going to be direct. It felt like it was a bit more direct on Saturday. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I don't know. I feel like we could have put more pressure on these players and gone more kind of direct and played 4-4-2.
I think, especially when they had Luke O'Nien at centre back, who isn't the tallest, and he didn't have a great game. He's clearly a player. I think when you read a lot of the Sunderland fans' comments on him, he's probably a bit low on that confidence. Stephen, do you think that maybe, we've obviously been speaking about Fleming and Watmore in this segment, do you think maybe Fleming could have a role as a striker?
I do, but I also think if you include Fleming in this, we've got 5 players that you could play in a striker position. They all need to. It looks like they all need to play in a two. It's just determining what two is the best combination. For me, I think Nisbet needs to play, and I think Nisbet needs to be in a two. It's who do you get the best? Does he need someone to flick the ball onto, so a Watmore and a Maku, or does he need someone to put the ball to him, i.e. a Fleming? I think it would be interesting to go Fleming and Nisbet. I think that their little touches, their little 1-2s and stuff would be really, really nice on the ball. And then perhaps later on in the game, if you're going to take one of them off, you go with Watmore and a Maku to run in behind. But it just feels like we've played one up front for so long, and our strikers are crying out for a partner. And I just don't think anybody really knows who the best two. Browett certainly didn't know how he ever played two. I don't think Edwards really wants to play two, but that's how you get the best out of our strikers, I think.
Who would you like to see, Dan?
Who would I like to see? I think I think it depends on the rest of the team, to be honest, in the formation, because I do think Fleming, while he could do a job at striker, I think him at 10 is still his best role. So if we're going to play a system where we have 2 strikers and an advanced midfielder, I do think I would keep Fleming as the advanced midfielder and probably go with Nisbet and Watmore as the front 2. But if we're not going to play with the advanced midfielder, if he wants to go for a flat 4-4-2, for example, then I think it would have to be, for me, Fleming and Nisbet. I just think that Nisbet isn't the most physical of strikers. He'll put himself about, but I think in terms of the aerial battle, Fleming's a lot more likely to win the headers, I think, than Nisbet is.
I agree with that. I think that's obviously like the whole thing about Bradshaw as well. Obviously, he came on the second half as well. What did you make of him on Saturday when he came one down?
Lots of running, as Tom Bradshaw does, and maybe a bit unlucky actually not to score. I thought Patterson actually made a really, really good save. At that point, that would have put us 2-0 up, and then obviously had his disallowed goal, which I feel like he should be, as a striker, maybe should be anticipating something happening and maybe trying to get himself back on side. Maybe I'm just being a bit harsh on him at the moment. I don't know. But
neither of us have gone for Nisbet and Bradshaw up front, and we've not seen it really either, have we? It's interesting why we've both not gone. I mean, I think
we saw it a little bit at the start of the season, didn't we?
Yeah, I think
it kind of felt like at that point he was still trying to shunt Fleming on one wing and Bradshaw on the other and have Nisbet in the middle. It just didn't really work, did it?
No, and it's like you think like we talk about it, like you've got 2 natural strikers there. Why have we not gone for that? It's like maybe that does need an opportunity to go. What do you reckon, Stephen?
I think that the squad's been built in such a way that that's why the managers have never gone with the 2, because we've got so many midfielders that, again, even George Honeyman, for example, being played out wide, but that's probably not where he wants to play. He probably does want to play a little bit more central. So the squad's been built in a way that we've got so many players that play in midfield, and maybe in time Edwards will change that. Maybe he's waiting for that opportunity. Look, Nisbet and Bradshaw are two very different strikers, but they both, as I said earlier, they both look to me like they're crying out for a partner. I don't think we'll see the two of them on the pitch because I think you run the risk, or Edwards will run the risk of thinking they're the main two, and you don't want one of them to get injured. You'd rather have one replace the other so you can kind of manage their minutes. But I don't agree with that. It would be good to see both of them. I just don't think we'll see that rarely now.
And before we move on to Norton-Cuffy, because we was debating talking about Nisbet, and while we're going through our strikers, I think it makes sense to 2 goals in 2 games for him now. Obviously, he got taken off around the hour mark. I think that's probably more due to minute management than anything else. But what did you make of his performance when he was on for that hour or so, chaps?
He scored his chance, didn't he? I mean, you can't fault him for that. Great finish. And do you think it's minute management? Or is it maybe?
I still think it is a little bit.
I think so, probably too. I mean, obviously he's only come back into the side, hasn't he? And it was his first start, isn't it, since his injury? So I kind of get it, but you ain't got to go into again until Saturday. I'd love to see him stay a bit longer. And he took his opportunity. You can't fault him. Like that one chance came to him, and he finished with a plum. Norton-Cuffy did, provide the assist, didn't he, as well? And yeah, I mean, that's what you want your striker to do when you need him most in games like that.
I kind of feel like, for me, just before you come in, Stephen, I feel like what Bradshaw's really good at in terms of the running and off the ball work rate, Nisbet doesn't really have. But then that kind of clinical instinct that Nisbet has, Bradshaw doesn't really have. So really, if we just merge the two, like we're saying, maybe play the two together, we might be onto a winner.
It sound like if you play 2 up top with them, that's what I was
exactly. That's maybe we're onto something there, or maybe we just take half of one player, half of another, and maybe we get there. What did you think on Nisbet's performance? And also, we'll include his little cameo as well over at Ipswich as well.
I think Nisbet's touch and hold up play is actually quite good. There are occasions where he does lose the ball, and I understand it's frustrating. But if you watch him, his first instinct is to flick the ball to his teammates, to bring the players around him into the game. His link up play is very, very good. Finishing excellent at Ipswich. Only one opportunity, scored. Really being honest, he only had one opportunity on Saturday, scored. It was another good finish as well. I was quite impressed. I actually thought the performance levels dropped when Nisbet was taken off the pitch on Saturday. I know I went on a little bit on our show to say that I felt the tactics were, when he went off, to be a little bit more defensive, which obviously comes from the manager. You can't blame Bradshaw for that. But certainly think he's one that, now he's back looking fairly fit, I can't see Bradshaw starting a game for a little while. I think Nisbet's definitely got the shirt for now, for the foreseeable future. And
obviously,
so
we are going into quite an intense period, and as we spoke about as well on Sunday, we do have obviously a lot of injury-prone players. So I do think there will still be chances for Bradshaw probably within the next month, while we've got so many games to come. But I think if you said to me, pick your strongest team now, I think Nisbet would be the player that I'd naturally give the striking position to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, there will be opportunities for Bradshaw, but will it be from the bench rather than a starting position? I agree, especially when you hit, because when we get to Christmas, we play on the 22nd, the 26th, and the 29th. Nisbet's probably not.
New Year's Day.
Yeah.
That's like 4 games in a week, pretty much.
Nisbet's not going to be able to play probably, well, he's not going to play all 4. I'd perhaps say he may struggle to play 3 of them. So you would probably think Bradshaw might get an opportunity there. But once things settle down, I think Nisbet is the possessor, if you will, of the shirt until such time if Bradshaw finds that streak that we all know that he had last year on a couple of occasions.
Anything to add quickly on Nisbet, Eimer?
I'm just, like I said, he took his chances in both games, and you want him to do that. I want to see. I'm starting more to talk about it. The more I want to see the pair of them up front, Bradshaw and Nisbet, and hopefully we get to see that in 1 or 2 games, because just intrigued to see how that would develop. And I do oddly think the pair of them would complement each other. One could do the running for the other, and obviously one could score the chances for the other. So it'd be interesting. And also, how does that then fit in? I take Stephen's point. There's plenty of midfielders. We're midfield top heavy in this side, and that's the main issue. It feels like with the balance in the side, and you've got players like Alan Campbell not even getting a game, and it's like Alan Campbell was a good champion midfielder. Do you know what I mean? So It'd be interesting to see. I think for me, it's just get to January and then reassess this squad.
Yeah.
That is it. It's like you got the games kind of thick and fast now, and you got sides like QPR who are actually picking up points at the moment as well. And it's worrying times because QPR with Box Day is suddenly not a banker anymore. It feels like, and Mill winning at Den is not a banker anymore. It's kind of I feel like we're looking at the fixtures and we're talking about Cardiff. I'm sure as the show goes on, but we need to pick up a win in a couple of these games coming up over Christmas because if we don't, and we get 4 games before Christmas, 5 games before Christmas, and you've got no win, and there's one win in 8 for the manager, questions are going to be asked and pressure will be put on them to strengthen in January.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, just before we move on to Norton-Cuffy, we'll begin to talk about him in this segment here because I've been a long time supporter of us maybe playing a midfield diamond, which would enable us to have 2 strikers still up top. It would enable us to have either Fleming or SA or what more potentially at the tip of that diamond, would maybe give Alan Campbell the chance to showcase what he can do a bit more at the base of the diamond. And I think in Denor and Saville, I think you have 2 really good midfielders who could maybe play as kind of the outside midfielders. And then I think it might be something you'd maybe have to wait until maybe when Brian's back, to be completely honest. I don't know. What would your thoughts be on something like that, gents? Because as we said as well, we aren't particularly blessed with natural wingers. So maybe that could be a way of getting all our midfield, well, not all of them, but getting more midfielders a game and maybe trying to play to our strengths in terms of having 2 up top as well.
Yeah, that's that. I think that's what I kind of said on the Friday. Like, I want to see formation where you have 2 up front and play the midfielders. But where is Joe Bryan? You mentioned his name. Where is he? Where are you, Joe? Where are you? Get out of that coffee shop and get to the deck. I don't even know if I want to mention Murray Wallace, but I don't think he was terrible on the weekend either. So
this is becoming a Murray Wallace hate show. This podcast.
I know. I don't think he was terrible Saturday. Let's give him some slack there.
No, Stephen, midfield diamond.
I like the idea of a diamond. I was talking about it in the chat the other day and options. The problem is, and I think Ben and I spoke about this as well. The diamond suits the players that we have, but does it suit us in terms of getting a result and the manager? And that's the thing. I don't think it does. I also think if you're going to play a diamond, I think Ryan Leonard has to play at the base of it to help cover, which again, Norton-Cuffy would have to play as a right back rather than a wing back or a winger. And again, it just changes the dynamic of the team. In terms of getting perhaps some of our better players to be playing regular minutes and get them on the pitch and regular game time, yes. But in terms of actually getting a result and what the manager wants to do, I'm not sure that's what we'll ever see.
How do you think Joe Edwards saw this happening when he first came in? Like, I know we want to get onto Norton-Cuffy, but how do you think he's feeling at the minute? Like, his first proper manager job or head coach job, the pressure must be building slowly but surely, and it feels like it's building like amongst the fans and stuff as well. And I don't think we're asking for a lot because we wanted this change. So, like, you're careful what you wish for and all them kind of things that you can add to that with them phrases there. But do you think he's feeling the pressure? Like, I think he must be, surely, right?
Yeah, he must be feeling the pressure. You listed off all them factors not that little bit while ago, didn't you? And then all of a sudden, if you add in the added factor of QPR starting to look a little bit less shit all of a sudden, and as we've said over the Christmas period, we play Stoke on the 23rd, who aren't doing very well at the moment. We play QPR on Boxing Day, which is looking like that could be a huge game. We play Huddersfield on the 16th. And then we play Norwich, who are kind of stuttering this season, to be completely honest. There's 4 kind of, very big games all in a row all of a sudden. He's going to be under pressure to get some points from them because we're going to talk Cardiff. We will talk Cardiff and Brooke Norton-Cuffy at some point in this video.
Norton-Cuffy's going to come up for a little while now.
But I promise this is going to be our last point on this. Then we will move on to Brooke Norton-Cuffy.
Well,
okay?
you said that about 5 times already, Dan. So
this is it. Okay, listen, I'm not making a very good job of this hosting malarkey, am I? No,
but this is the benefit of these shows and why I do it, because you do get his thoughts when you start to do a show, but a penny for Jonah's thoughts, because like we know it as fans, there's no giving in the Championship, I'm sure he would know that too. He's not that naive. But it's his first gig ever in the Championship, ever. Yeah, I've watched a few games and been to Millwall, and I was at the first game of the season when they done the minutes thing for John Berylson and stuff. Well, this is the Championship now, Joe Edwards, and how are you feeling, mate? Because I'm sure it must be like I feel like a sinking ship at the minute, but I think this is the whole thing of the Championship. Your next win's not far away. Your next game's not far away. It's kind of having that clean slate ability and going again. And I think that's what you got to feel like. I think I can't remember what I was listening to the other day or watching, but I think it was the Football Weekly podcast by The Guardian, which I'm giving a plug to anyway. But Barney Rode was on there, who's a bit of a contentious one with Millwall fans anyway nowadays. But he was talking about this whole, like, we're talking about Sunderland losing their job, Murray losing his job, and it's like they might go down the modern day route of a young coach who's never played football before. And sometimes I think one of the guys on there, it was actually one of the female people on there, Lucy Ward, her name is, and she was like, there's not enough value in someone that used to be a footballer who knows what it's like to be in the dressing room at half time when you're losing. And there's also not enough value in having the ability to treat it as just a game. There's one game. You need to win your next game. It's like, don't get too lost in the moment, I think. But it's easy to kind of get lost in that moment. This is what happens when you've got an experienced coach. Where's that next win going to come from? And you start to panic about it, aren't you? I feel like.
I actually think, and I don't, Joe Edwards, if you're listening to this show, we all still back you and we trust the process.
Massively.
But I think Saturday is a massive, massive game for Joe Edwards, because if we don't get a result at Cardiff, which is no mean feat, realistically, we're not going to get a result against Leicester. Let's be honest. You hope. I mean, a couple of us are going, possibly all three of us. And for me, I'm going to let. It was one of the grounds I wanted to go to. I've never been before, and they come down from the Premier League. But if you don't get a result on Saturday, and you don't get a result against Leicester, you go into Huddersfield at home, Stoke, as you said, Dan, QPR and Norwich, off the back of another couple of poor results, and you go into 4 winnable games where the pressure is going to be seriously ramped up. So Saturday's huge for me. I'm not saying it's not, if we don't win, that's the end of the world and we're finished. But I feel like if the pressure's telling now, if he's dug out on Wednesday at Leicester and they start playing and another, pending another defeat, it's not going to be an easy place for him, especially walking into the Den after that on the following Saturday as well. So, Joe, trust the process. Hope you do watch the show if you do, but please get a result on Saturday, because otherwise I could cry.
Well, and if you are watching, Joe, thank you for being the one who's getting paid to make the decisions, because we've been sitting here for half hour and thrown about 100 ideas together between the three of us and haven't managed to come to any conclusion.
But Dan, do you know what? Brooke Norton-Cuffy had a good game on Saturday.
I was about to say, but now we will come on to Brooke Norton-Cuffy, who I think arguably at this moment in time might be one of the first names on the team sheet, gents. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. Why not?
I mean, you gave me a look there when I first said that. Come on, he had a great game on Saturday.
He had a good game. No, he had a great game. He had a great game Saturday. It was, the assist was good. The amount of mazy runs he goes on, he tries every game. He's one of those players that feels like he doesn't shirk it and keeps trying to do the set, like what he's good at. And it's easy to get kind of lost in them moments sometimes, and easy for us fans to get frustrated watching it, but. I'll give him his due. He's very good at what he does, taking players on, trying to drill past them, put the balls into the box. And he done that time and time again on Saturday, it felt like. And he was a constant outlet for us, which is something we needed. And, I think he got voted man of the match at the time by the sponsors, I believe, and rightly so. It was brilliant on Saturday.
Stephen? I think with him, there's a couple of things. Firstly, he looks different to a lot of our players in our team, because he's actually got a bit of pace and actually wants to take people on. Too many people go to take people on, they cut back, and then things change. Whereas he's just like, no, I'm going to be direct. I'm going to go for it. I think the second thing with him is he come into the club clearly because we wanted to play 5 at the back, and I don't know if Edwards, after the Ipswich debacle, I don't think he's going to go to a 5 at the back anytime soon. And the fact he has played at right back, he's played at right wing back, he's played at now right mid. He's doing what his manager's asking him to do. And I don't think you can ask for much more than that. We needed to see a bit more end product. He scored at Sheffield Wednesday. He got an assist on Saturday. So that's starting to come as well. So I'd actually said that I was one of the Omar alluded to earlier that said to try and further forward because he's got a bit of pace. He can take people on. And if he's going to do that, absolutely, I would say he does need to get his head up a little bit because there are occasions where it's as if he's playing football on his own and he's not thinking about his teammates. But we can forgive that for his performances. And at Ipswich in the 92nd minute or whatever it was, he chased about 50 yards to the defenders, to the goalkeeper. He was the only one that actually bothered. And for a lone player, especially from a club like Arsenal, where they're more technical and they're more, rather than press and chasing, it's more, silky football. I have a lot of time for that, and certainly think he's well worth a spot every week at the moment.
I think he's someone who they say don't fall in love with a lone player. I don't know whether we're quite getting to the kind of Charlie Cresswell kind of stage of it quite yet or not, but he's someone who certainly warmed himself to the Millwall fans very quickly. And you actually touched on what was going to be my next question on him. What do you think his best position is? Because I know obviously it's a massive bugbear of yours, Stephen. We could probably get you ranting for 20 minutes on having players that can play in multiple positions but not actually playing their strongest position. So what do you actually think Norton-Cuffy's best position is for us?
For us, I think his best position is further forward.
So you would say playing as a right midfielder?
Sort of as a right midfielder, because I think if he's got someone behind defensively solid like Leonard or Danny Mack, to be fair, who actually are in the team to defend, and he's in front of them, and it's not his sole responsibility to have to track back and mark the wingers, etc. He'd obviously have to come back and help, but it's not his sole responsibility. Absolutely, I think that's his best position for us at the moment. And also because he's the only, I know you can't just shoe on players, but he's got a bit of pace. You need to have pace on the counter, and I think he gives you that.
I do think he's someone whose performances have already improved under Joe Edwards, actually. And I think even at Sheffield Wednesday away, when he was playing at right back, he got forward so much. Obviously, put the cross in that got cleared for the second goal for Savile. Obviously, got his name on the score sheet for the fourth. And obviously, we mentioned him having someone behind him who's maybe a bit more defensively sound. And I think on that game, Casper De Noor, who has experience of playing as a wing back and full back in the past, was the one who played on the right, which gave us that little bit more balance there. I mean, Omar, do you think for us he was able into play in a kind of 3/5 back system, and B, now it looks like we're going to be playing with a 4 going forwards, he's now going to be more of a kind of right winger for us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's kind of where he fits into this team now. It's like I think he's a wing back by nature. It's quite clear to see, it feels like, and I think if you give him less responsibility defensively in this side, when there's a back 4 in play, probably will be the greater good for him, I think. And, he's got the capability to get back and help out, and he's not short of the work rate, like Stephen touched on there. Albeit at that 92nd minute, which I was long gone, to be honest. I don't have to leave early, but that one.
Where could you give us a rough location where he was at that point?
Somewhere, probably near Colchester, I reckon. Or somewhere on that line on the way back.
A good way home.
Yeah, the only other time I left early this season was Norwich down, which you partaked in as well,
brilliant. There's probably some point by Colchester at full time that day as well.
Norfolk, Suffolk, not a good hunting grounds.
No, we won't be rushing back there.
And yeah, I think overall, you can see he's definitely going to feature prominently on that right hand side. Really, I think be interesting. I still think about January, but we're not there yet. But where will he fit in? Would formation change, or where will it lead to? I suppose with Edwards, because what kind of players will he be attracting in a January window, which is notoriously a hard window to do business. So yeah, I think it suits him playing that position. He played well Saturday. More the same, please, Norton-Cuffy, and hopefully even a couple more goals to come in the next couple of games, please.
And for those of you who are unaware on Brooke Norton-Cuffy, he's now played enough games for us in the first half of the season to mean that Arsenal can't trigger a clause to recall him. I mean, as I said, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment, gents. So obviously that's fantastic to have a bit of security there. But before we move on to Saturday, and I know this could go on for ages and ages again, but I'm just going to throw a question at you, Omar, that we asked again on Sunday, and it was, at this point in time, we have 2 loan slots left in the squad. What 2 positions would you be prioritising to bring in on loan for the second half of the season?
I think for me, definitely a central defender and definitely a winger.
Okay.
Go for.
Okay,
I understand the left back argument because of Murray Wallace performances, but assuming Joe Bryan's not far away, I want us to get centre back in to attract. Charlie Cresswell's obviously the number one target for me in that position. If we can sign one player, it's Charlie Cresswell, and I know that's not. I think it'll balance the team a lot more basically as soon as we can go back to have a back four where we've got the combination of Cooper and Cresswell in play, and I think for me Joe Bryan still has a part to play, albeit he'll be back soon hopefully.
But obviously we've got Alex Mitchell who's doing really well out in League One with Lincoln. But there is the argument that maybe other areas of the squad need bulking up, and now we're playing with a 4. We do actually have a fair bit of centre half cover. Obviously, Hutchinson's not really getting a game at the moment. Do you maybe think that maybe left back, playing Murray Wallace on a weekly basis, it is going to come back to bite you at multiple times?
I do take notion and agree with what everyone's saying at that point. But again, I think, hopefully Brian's not far away. But I do think also we wouldn't be surprised to see Alan Campbell go back, which will free up a spot because he's hardly featured under Edwards, is he? He's not started a game yet. No. And I think he'll be someone that's also out the door, which will then free up another loan slot for us. So, and also you can sign more loan players, just you can't have them all in the same match.
You can sign 6. You can sign 6 on loan, but you can only have 5 on the match day squad.
I think even Longman has a future still for the rest of the season. I think he's obviously featured in all the games, hasn't he?
I hope not. I'll be honest. I don't think he's very good.
It just depends how much wiggle room he's got and what the clauses are in all the contracts. But it wouldn't surprise me if he can go back, which then gives you 3 loan spots. And if there's 3 in play, then yeah, maybe throwing a left back in the conundrum. But for me, I'd really think we need Charlie Cresswell, especially playing the back 4, because we feel so open going defensively when we play back 4 without someone with a bit of, I feel like Harding has offered that a bit of opportunity, but I'm not convinced on Harding at centre half. I just really ain't. And then you've then got the question of, obviously, in the wide areas, who you go for there. But get a Premier League loan in, it's going to rip it up, please.
Yeah. Well,
easy as that.
You've mentioned Alan Campbell, so now you actually roll us nicely into Cardiff. So thank you very much for that, because get thinking about your team selection, gents, because George Saville and Jake Cooper will both be suspended on Saturday after getting their 5th booking of the season. So think about your team selection, gents. We'll be there in 10 minutes. That's maybe where Alan Campbell can come into this. But Omar, a very, very tough game on Saturday. Cardiff, bit of a dark horse so far this season. They've been going well under their new manager.
Yeah, they have been. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're sitting in the 11th place in the table. They're up there.
They were 6th, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously they've lost the last 2, albeit against West Brom, who seem to be surprising loads of teams, and obviously Southampton last time out. So, yeah, I mean, look, Cardiff, they recruited a lot of players under Morrison last year, and a lot of them were still good players, and they're still knocking about there, some of them, and they're kind of putting the mouldings of a squad together. So it'd be interesting. Last year we won there at their ground, and hopefully that carries some weight, because it's going to be a tricky place to go to. We've got the suspensions, got injuries. It's a backs against the wall mill performance that we need and desire, hopefully, on Saturday, and fingers crossed we get that.
Stephen, your thoughts on what is going to be another tough away day? They're a very good home record as well. I don't want to curse us, because last time I said a team had a very good home record, it was Ipswich. And Omar went and looked at their home form and shit himself a little bit before the game. So I don't want to curse too much. Stephen.
As I said earlier, I think it's a real high pressure game. By my understanding is there's a decent following as well. We've sold reasonably well in terms of numbers a game, which I didn't think that would be the case. I must admit to Cardiff, one a game that's probably longer journey time and whatnot, but the fans are still sticking with the team away from home.
Trust in the process, Stephen.
Absolutely, and that's it. You'll always get the people that argue and say, we shouldn't have gone for this manager, we shouldn't have done this. But there's an awful lot of Millwall fans out there that do still believe that we are trying to go down the right route. We just need to pick up some results to kind of, steady the ship a little bit. Cardiff are good at home. They are having a good season. They've seemingly managed to sort themselves out a bit after recent seasons. So it will be tough. Again, our away form is pretty good. I know Ipswich was a bit poor, but we've been quite good on the road, and maybe the style of football. I think the game plan on Saturday to be a little bit harder to break down. I think that certainly will come into play on Saturday, and will definitely be a strength of ours. You also have to add into the fact that with no Sav and no Cooper, we're probably likely to have no Casper. Well, we've got no Casper because he's out until Christmas. So you're missing 3 really, really big players So it will be back to the wall, but maybe that's where we'll be at our best, and maybe Edwards might just be able to draw on some previous results away from home, or look at how we played away from home under Rowett and Harris, and see when we are up against it, our players do stand up a little bit, or maybe that's hope or wishful thinking, but that's what he's going to need to draw on.
As you know, like you were joking about me to potentially turn up at one of these two games, and the more we talk about it, the less tantalising it sounds, but also the more Millwall-esque it sounds. And it's like this is what Millwall's like, you know, backs against the wall. I'm trying to put together my start 11 for Saturday.
Well, hold fire for a couple. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, but, I want to try and provide a glimmer of light. I'm trying to completely lose negative, Dan. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but I'm going to do my best to maybe become somewhat neutral, Dan, in this situation. So, looks like Aaron Ramsey is going to miss the game. He's been out injured for a while now. Hasn't been in their matchday squad since October. Obviously, I think when you look down the list of players in this division, he's probably someone who I'd put definitely in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5 of players just based on their ability in this league. So do you think that we can at least take something from that? I mean, I know they've still got a good squad, but if a player of Ramsey's caliber is missing, then surely you can take some kind of positive from that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I still pick up results.
Sound convinced.
Yeah. It's a tough place to go. Cardiff always has been, always will be. You know, we saw us in there, like I said again last season, and it's one of those stadiums where if you can keep their fans quiet at early stages, a bit like a Den, you kind of drag the game out as long as you can, you're gonna nick something from the game, and it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a back against the wall. But I think if we can keep, you know, we need a Gary Rowett performance. There you go. I'll say it. We need a Gary Rowett-esque performance on Saturday, and I think my team might reflect that.
And Stephen, they've just lost their last 2 though as well, obviously in front of their own fans going into Christmas, that festive period where you want momentum more than anything else really going into it. They're obviously going to be determined to put on a show.
Yeah, and I think when the games come thick and fast, when you do get on a run, whether it's good or bad, you kind of, you know, the next game, it almost doesn't matter because the next game's upon you. Same for us. I think 1 point from the last 3, Edwards would be desperately looking for a reaction. I'm going to be a little bit optimistic on the basis that I feel like we are due as Omar said, a Millwall-esque performance. We're due to go somewhere and grind out a result. We haven't quite been able to do it recently. The style of football hasn't allowed us to do so. And whilst, again, this might come back and bite me a little bit, but Cardiff don't have the perhaps firepower that Ipswich had. We were going into the Ipswich game sort of fearful that they were going to score a lot of goals. Maybe we can see that defensive masterclass and a counter goal to get us 3 points. But I certainly think we'll see a very tough, hard to beat Millwall side, whoever gets put out.
1 win in our last 4 and 2 wins in our last 12 games, by the way. Just put that one out there. It's dwindling on. And it's got to end eventually, though. Law of averages, right? It's law of averages. I've got my team, by the way. Do you want to hear it?
Hit us with it. I was going to go with mine, but if you're so confident you've got yours, let's hear it.
Right. We're playing 5-2-3.
A great start.
So this is Gary Rowett-esque. Bart Bilkowski in goal. 3 centre-halves of Leonard, Hutch and Murray Wallace. Ryan Longman left wing back. And then we'll have Danny McNamara right wing back. No, I'm joking. We'll have BNC right wing back. And then we'll have a midfield 2 of Honeyman and Mitchell. No, sorry, Campbell, Mitchell, sorry. And then Honeyman and Fleming either side of Kevin Nisbet. Grafting. And then Fleming's going to, you know, channel the inner 22, 23. There you go.
Can I just jump in there? That 11 makes me want to call the Samaritans.
Yeah, I'm not going.
What's wrong with it? Sorry. What's wrong with it? That's just the wall performance where we nick it. I'm telling you.
No, okay, I'm going to go with my team, and I'm hopefully
and see if Fleming's going to score.
I'm hopefully going to restore Stephen's faith here a little bit. I'm going to put my team out there now, so I'm going to go with. I'm going to keep Bialkowski in goal. That's fine. I'm going to play a 4-2-3-1, and I'm going to keep. So Bialkowski goes in goal. I'm going to go with Danny McNamara at right back, not wing back, just as a normal right back, and then go with Harding, who would be my captain, I think, on Saturday, with Leonard in at centre back. I'd keep Murray Wallace on the basis he didn't have a bad game against Sunderland. I know obviously that's a bit contentious, but it doesn't really look like Malachi's going to get too much game time. I'm then going to go with Campbell and Honeyman as the two in front of the defence, with Norton-Cuffy on the right, Watmore on the right, Watmore on the left. I'll keep Fleming in the 10, but we really need to see something from him, I think, and then I'll go in this bit up top.
My team, right, is balanced and counter-attacking. Right?
You got Ryan Longman starting, mate.
Yeah,
You've got Ryan Longman and Murray Wallace starting on the left. You was
Correct.
at Ipswich. Do you not remember what happened?
I'm backing him. No, I'm too pissed. I'm backing him.
Longman's not even in the squad for me.
I'm backing him. I'm backing him to turn it around.
No.
All right,
Stephen, if you had the choice of hearing which two teams out of mine and Omer's lineup, which one would you rather go and see?
I'm erring more towards yours, Dan. I'm not going to lie.
I want to go back to the essay there, by the way, but I just, it's back sensible, grafted performance. It's an old school performance where Hutch can't reignites his, past life. All right, there you go.
I'm going to go. I'll give you a team. There's going to be one slight. I'll come to it, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So Bart in goal, Danny Mack at right back.
Are you going 4-2-3-1 as well, just so the viewers?
Yeah, around 4-2-3. Yeah, probably 4.
Here we go. So
4-2-3-1.
So I've asked Stephen. What do you guys think? We're going to hear Stephen's team now. Put in the comments below. If you're going to Cardiff on Saturday, if you was going to go, which one of these team sheets would you be most happy to see at 2 p.m?
I'm going to create so many accounts and just keep putting my name. So Bart in goal, Danny Mack at right back. I would go with Harding, and I would probably go with Hutchinson as the two centre halves. At left back, I agree on the basis that he didn't have a bad game on Saturday, and unless Joe Bryan's fit, so I would go Wallace. But if Bryan's fit, I would pick Bryan.
I don't think that's happening, mate. We ain't know.
No, I don't.
I don't nothing on him since he's got injured. His season's probably over.
So by default, that's Murray Wallace at left back. My two in midfield would be Ryan Leonard, and I would probably go with Alan Campbell in this kind of
I think
game.
he deserves a chance. I think.
Yeah, I must admit, without going around the houses, Billy Mitchell didn't have a great game on Saturday when he was given an opportunity. So I would go Leonard, and
that's why he's
Campbell.
Same reason for me. That's why he's not in my team as well.
BNC wide right in front of Danny. Duncan Watmore wide left. Personally, I would be taking Zian Fleming out of my starting 11. I don't think that Joe Edwards will, but if it was me, I would be. It would be SA in the 10 and Kevin Nisbet as the striker. But I think we all know that it's going to be Fleming in the 10. But if it was me, it would be SA.
I think, to be honest, you've raised some very valid points there. Like myself, you didn't have Billy Mitchell in there. Just wasn't very impressed with his performance. Obviously, you've gone with Hutchinson, who we had a big discussion about, myself, Omer and Ben, last week ahead of Ipswich. And obviously, he came in, and I think it's maybe a tad harsh to say he didn't have a good game against Ipswich. I don't think it'd be fair to single out any player for having a bad game, because they're all rubbish that night.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair. But my thing was, I kind of wanted to keep Leonard at right back because he played so well at right back, and that link up between him and Norton-Cuffy was good. But I just think we still lack a bit of pace at centre half, which I think bringing Ryan Leonard in there along with Harding would certainly go a long way to solving that issue.
My thing with that though is that if you're going to have the midfield two that aren't nowhere near the first choice because of suspensions and injuries, Leonard playing in front of the back four or playing in midfield as more of a holding midfielder can cover the ground. He'll almost fill in as a third centre back if need be, and then it gives Campbell an opportunity, maybe a little bit more freedom to get further forward, perhaps where he wants to be playing, rather than don't say to him, look, we don't need you to you can't just not track back at all, but we'd rather you maybe going forward, and you might see a little bit more from him. If Leonard plays in that midfield, he can cover the ground and fill in as a third centre back. That's why I'd be moving him. And I think Danny and Norton-Cuffy down the right hand side, you'd be asking Danny to defend, which is what he's better at, and you'd be asking Norton-Cuffy to go forward, which he's better at.
See,
I'm done trolling now. Draw my actual team, by the way. It's still 5-2-3.
Oh, here we go.
I'll actually double down on my one now. I'm still could go 5-2-3, but the actual team I go is Norton-Cuffy right wing back, Barton goal obviously, Leonard right centre half, Hutch, Harding, and I still would have Longman in left wing back to be honest, because Wallace has been shocking recently. My midfield two is Campbell and Mitchell still, and then I have Amaku, Esse, and Nisbet. Go for it. There you go, 5-2-3. Pace up front, counter
Pace up
attacking.
front, yeah.
All he's done there is he's thought
He's just
all the
changed his
people in the
wingers.
comments. No, in the comments he's gonna get absolute
I've got it
pelters
written
for it.
down.
Go...
I've got it written down. I can send it to you right now. But I was trying to just. I was going to leave it for the whole show. And just go. That's it. Like, and just wait for the comments to come flooding through. But no, Fleming deserves to be dropped. Wallace has not been great. I do like Longman to go left wing back though. I still think he can offer a valid option there, especially with Joe Bryan stuck in a coffee shop in Fulham somewhere, like we keep saying. So, yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up now, mainly because I've just checked the score and it's we're recording this on Tuesday. I think this is due to go out on Wednesday or Thursday. But it is currently Luton Town 3, Arsenal 3, and there's about 25 minutes left. Personally, I want to go and watch the rest of the game, so I'm gonna wrap this up pretty quickly. But we have been going an hour, so hopefully you've enjoyed most of it. I just want to say one last point on Alan Campbell. I really do think if he doesn't get a kick in the 90 minutes, then I think we all know what his future is going to be in January. My thinking for having him in the team alongside Honeyman is a bit like Stephen, but I just think that when I've seen Campbell play for Luton last season, I think he was best as the midfielder that sat the deepest. I think Honeyman's going to be someone who wants to try and get on the ball and drive the ball forwards a bit more. So at times, I think the way I kind of envisage my team playing, like I'm actually a football manager, like I'm actually Joe Edwards on the touchline, would almost be a 4-1-4-1 with Alan Campbell as a kind of deep line midfielder, and then Honeyman and Fleming almost playing next to each other.
Yeah, I get the logic completely, and also there's legs in that midfield, and you know there's someone else that can offer an option in there. What's the score going to be? Have you given a prediction yet? Sorry,
No. Should we do score predictions?
Do a score prediction, then we can end it and watch the last 25 minutes.
All right, score prediction, Stephen. Score prediction, go.
1-0 Millwall.
Omar.
1-0 Millwall is what I was going with earlier. Yeah, 1-0 Millwall. Esse to score the goal.
Oh, sorry, Nisbet to get 3 and 3 for me.
Like it.
I'm gonna go back-to-back 1-0s. I think I'd take a point now, to be honest. I think a point would be a good result there. 1-0. My goal scorer is going to be Duncan Watmore.
It's so bleak, but a Mill fan at the minute, isn't it?
It really is. You try and cling on to any hope, and it's just every day that passes by, it just dwindles.
It's not inconceivable to think you could be at work or talking to someone else, and you're wherever you go, and there's going to be a Liverpool fans be disappointed because they get a draw on the weekend or something silly. This is it.
Absolute blessing for me is I work with 2 Norwich fans, and their first choice goalkeeper is George Long at the minute. So I feel quite chirpy at the moment. And on that note, listen, we hope that you've laughed along with us. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please subscribe to us if you haven't already. God, there's quite a lot of notices to read out at the end of the shows at the moment, isn't there? Stephen, Omar, any notices I think I've missed out on? There's quite a lot, isn't there?
We're doing a few of the panelists are going to Harry's after the Huddersfield game on the 16th. If you want to come and meet us for a drink, have a chat after the game, feel free. If you'd like to come on and do Who Are You, please get in contact with us. And just to clarify before the comments get at me, Omar isn't driving me to the Samaritans. It was a joke. His team is just a bit depressing.
It was depressing. I was only just trying to fish out there. And I was like, you know what? In hindsight, I'm not going to do it.
Cool. Any final thoughts, gents?
Just be sure to follow us and like the video and subscribe. Not a lot of people do it, so make sure you do that as well.
That's the words I'm looking for. Cool. Thank you very much for everyone for listening. Should be something on Friday night, and then we'll also be live on Sunday after the Cardiff game, looking ahead to what is a very daunting away trip to Leicester City. But thank you very much, and come on you Lions.